Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Mr. Como?
Yes, sir.
All right. The Committee on Parole is called to order. Today's date is 7/17/24. The time is 9:11 a.m. My name is Danny Barra, and I'll be serving as your chairman today. My colleagues on today's panel are Ms. Cheryl Renatza to my left and Ms. Carolyn Stapleton to my right. The panel today is at headquarters in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Headquarters staff, would you please introduce yourself for the record?
Yes. Sure. Parole Williams.
Francis Abbott.
Our remote location today is Louisiana State Penitentiary. Any staff there, would you please introduce yourselves?
Rochelle Ambo, Deputy Warden.
Reginald Admiral, classification.
J.D. Sturgeon, Program Consultant. Jane Babel, Offender Record.
Thank you. Mr. Adam Como, would you please introduce yourself and state your full name and DOC number for the record?
My name is Adam Como, and my DOC number is 112373.
All right. I'm going to give you a brief explanation of the process, and then we'll begin. We'll start out by me reading some information into the record and asking you to verify it. You'll be allowed to speak first. Then Mr. Myers from the Parole Project will speak on your behalf, and we'll ask the facility wardens for any input. We'll then allow supporters and people in opposition 3, and then we will conduct a parole interview by the panel. So let's begin. Today we have for parole consideration Adam Como, who is DOC number 112373, who's a first felony offender, who was convicted of first-degree murder, 2 counts, and on November 3rd, 2003, was sentenced to death, reduced to life without parole, and then reduced to life with parole eligibility. Your parole eligibility date is August 1st, 2017. Your good time date is not eligible. Your full term date is life. Is that information correct?
Yes,
All
sir.
right. So, Mr. Como, we'll let you speak first. We want you to tell us, in your words, why do you think we should release you on parole today, and anything else that you might want the parole board to know?
Because I'm a changed man, and I deserve a shot because I was at a young age. I didn't know better, and that's why I deserve another chance.
Because you were young.
Yeah, I was young at the time.
Is that all you have to say at this time?
Well, I take full responsibility for what I did, and I got remorse for the victim family, and I'm not that person. I'm a changed man now.
All right. Mr. Myers, would you give us a couple of words about what you do for him?
Good morning. Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. As this board may be aware, Parole Project is committed to assisting juvenile lifers. And if this board would grant Mr. Como today, we would offer him our full assistance.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. How about any warden or staff down there? Do y'all have any input to help us out with our decision today? How's he been?
Yes, he's a minimum A trustee that works in our garment factory. He's a sewing machine operator. He has his 1 hour of pre-release, substance abuse, anger management, and T4C. His last DB report was May 31st of 2013 for Rule 3, which is defiance. Since he's been here, he only had 19 DB reports. And he has a low tiger risk. And I got his educational summaries. He had, several attempts to try to get the GED to get literacy, but due to not needing academic growth, he was given a waiver, from, participating in the classes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Today we have in opposition Chad Boycell, who to speak, but in opposition, and Allison Simmons, victim family member, who's in opposition that doesn't want to speak. Sheriff Mark Woods, who is in opposition and will speak. District Attorney Philip Terrell, who's in opposition and will speak. Mr. Robert Murphy with the Rapides District Attorney's Office, who's in opposition but does not need to speak. Mr. Michael Jones with the Rapides Sheriff's Office, who's in opposition and present but does not want to speak. And Chief of Police Darrell Bradley, who's opposed and not wishing to speak. So we will begin with Mr. Kevin Boycell, if you want to go up to the podium and tell us what you have to say.
Morning. First of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the members of the board for giving me a chance to speak today. I have been mentally rehearsing the speech far too many years and hoping, in fact praying, that today would never arrive. But here we are. Prior to September 1st, 1985, I lived a normal life, full of fun and laughter and not many worries in the world, as most 25-year-olds should be. Every day since that day, it has been anything but normal for me. I was visiting my grandparents in Boyles Parish with my father, and their phone rang. Father answered it, and it was then that we all learned that my two aunts were no longer with us. Their lives were stolen from us by Adam Como. They were both bludgeoned to death with a cypress knee that my father made to hold the door open. And my Aunt Ruby was raped by the son. Now I'm going to make something perfectly clear. I'm not someone that lives his life for vengeance or revenge. Facts, complete opposite. I have sought professional help for a number of years to help me let this go. And I assure you that Adam Como is not the only one in prison. I too live in a prison of fear and anxiety. The only difference is I will not get a chance at parole, nor will I ever get a chance at life again. Unfortunately, my sentence doesn't end until I end. I was 25 years old then. Now I stand before you, a much older man of 64. And I've been reliving that horrific event from that day until today, and I'm sure I will until I'm gone from this earth. From that day on, things changed. I became worried or even scared, if you will, for my loved ones. I constantly feared for my mother's safety as well as my sister's. In 1988, I met this wonderful woman that stands beside me now. I then began to worry about her safety. And to this day, I'm constantly asking her to be careful everywhere she goes. My feelings are a direct result of this heinous crime. And now on to 2003. When the young man who stands next to me entered the world, this was by far the most wonderful and greatest day of my life. Along with the wonderful feeling of having a child, having someone to teach how to hunt, to fish, and to ride a bike, unfortunately came the feeling of worry and fear for his safety. That fear does not end at 16 years of age or 18, or now at the age of 21. As a senior at LSU, I still worry about his day-to-day travels, constantly think about his drive to campus, running errands or going out with his friends or his girlfriend, Allie. I worry about him coming home late from football practice or the long nights he has on Saturdays in the fall. I worry about him when he travels out of town for away games. I was robbed by Adam Como, some of the normal things that a dad should feel as a father. Now, we're going to have a little history lesson. In April of 1982, at the age of 14 and a half years old, I repeat, 14 and a half years old, age when most boys are having fun in school, playing sports, and having crushes on girls. Adam Como was busy beginning his life of horrible crimes, from breaking into a woman's home in St. Landry Parish and attempting to rape her, to being sent to Hot Springs, Arkansas, to a job force center, where 3 years later, in 1985, he left without permission on August 23rd and returned the next day after he was busy murdering an 83-year-old woman, which to this day has not been held accountable for, nor has he spent 1 minute in jail for. Then 7 days later, leaving again without permission and taking a bus to Alexandria, Louisiana, where later that evening he proceeded to beat to death and raping both hands. This crime was so horrific that in January of 1986, he was given 2 death sentences. And that decision was again upheld in June of 1993. I find it absolutely unbelievable and socially unacceptable that we went from that sentence to where we are today. My concern is this. We're not talking about a person that is in his 80s or 90s. We are here today to contemplate the release of this broken animal back into society at the young age of 56. Adam Como is still very capable of repeating this nightmare on someone else. When he was arrested after killing and raping my aunt, he was asked why he did it. His answer was, and I quote, "I needed a woman." I can only imagine how he feels now. There are many elderly women in their 60s, 70s, and older that could very much be his next victim. I get sick thinking of another family being sentenced to the same prison that I have been sentenced to all these years. Now I realize I've been long-winded, but since this day is unfortunately upon us, I want to make it perfectly clear how important my feelings are and how determined I am to see to it that Adam Como spends the rest of his life on bars and that I will be the one that keeps you there. I hold in my hand the rosary that my father gave me at my aunt's funeral, which was my Aunt Iris. She had in her hand when they found her, and it was given to me at the funeral. I've had it all these years. And to be a little more graphic, when I first got this, it had red stains. They have worn off. My anger toward this animal has not. Nor will it have. Again, I want to thank the board.
Thank you very much. Next, we're going to have the Rapides Parish Sheriff, Mark Wood. Thanks for coming.
Thank y'all for allowing me to come to speak. When this happened, I wasn't leaving them alone. But after this came up and it surfaced and I done my reading and looked back over the case that I've seen, we can't get out. I think he opposed it. I think what he received in the early 2000s shouldn't have got it. But he was given a life sentence. He ought to be blessed with that and do the rest of his time where he's at. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have District Attorney Philip Terrell, Rapides Parish.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you for listening to Kevin Boswell. This has been a terrible journey to Boswell. And I appreciate so much y'all indulging this morning. This is the first time that the Boswell family's ever heard Adam Como take any responsibility in the murdering, the raping of a group and murdering, raping, the murdering of the guy. He's never said he's sorry for murdering Kenmore up and raping her up in Arkansas. Never said he's sorry for breaking in and attempting to rape the two ladies back when he was 14 and 15 in St. Landry Parish and in Lake Charles. Adam Como attempted aggravated rape of a woman in Arnoldville, Louisiana. He was arrested and sent to the Department of Corrections by the 27th JDC the day before 1982. He was sent to the Juvenile Reception Diagnostic Center for evaluation purposes. And he ended up at some point at Hilltop Boys Home in Bossier Parish. And he was there from October the 13th of 1982 until June the 26th of 1985. At some point, that attempted rape didn't work out well because the lady attempted rape when he was 14 was physically fit, and a little boy, her little child, and I know y'all read the records, I just want to go over these parts briefly because they stick out in my mind. A little child came in screaming and that scared him off. And the second time he tried it was when he was 15, somehow he ended up in Lake Charles or something. And as I understood what I read, he tried to break in a house and he had a knife. Another younger lady that had, I think it was Dudley, and her 10-year-old boy responded. He had a knife and he chasing Mr. Como around, and Miss Dudley was able to kick Mr. Como in the groin, and I think the 10-year-old boy or somebody was able to call 911, and it resulted in Mr. Como cowardly running toward the bus station and was locked in the bathroom, I think, by a porter and the police called. And so he ends up back in the juvenile facility. And I think that I know y'all are probably way more familiar with the juvenile records than me. I tried to read them as best I could. But at some point, as I understood his records, he was troubled and was trouble to the juvenile people. And then at some point, by the time when he went home, his family had trouble controlling him. When he was on leave, he would have encounters with police. I think maybe he was a suspect in some robberies, or maybe he committed a robbery. But in any event, after he got to be 17 and a half, he gets shipped off the Job Corps up in Arkansas. And clearly it was noteworthy that the people at the Job Corps said that he threatened to kill other residents of the Job Corps, and he threatened to kill staff, and that he was the number one problem in the whole Job Corps. And that and certainly at some point, and later on, he confessed to murdering the lady and raping her in Arkansas. So we know for sure that he did that. For whatever reason, he was never prosecuted in Arkansas. That's not our fault. We didn't do that. For whatever reason, that didn't. So we know that he did that because he said it. And so right after that, he hops the bus and comes to Alexandria, Louisiana. And when he gets here, we know that he murders and rapes Miss Ruby, and we know that he murders Miss Howard. So what do we know about him? Well, we know that a Rapides Parish jury convicted him of 2 first-degree murders and 1 aggravated rape. We know that they sentenced him to death. And we know that that those, from reading the transcripts and the coroner's reports, and from looking at the testimony at trial, we know that those were very, very heinous crimes. We know that they were terrible. We know that those ladies suffered. And from reading what I could read, the Arkansas crime was simple. And from reading the reports about what happened to the ladies in Arnoldville and in Lake Charles. It was a developing modus operandi. You get the lady, just try to hit them in the head, chase them with knives, which you got folks as a predator. And if a person will break in to a home because in his words, he wants a woman, and when he encounters a 72-year-old woman and hits her in the head, I think 3 times, if I recall correctly, I believe what he said, because I'm a woman, I'm gonna hit her in the head 3 times and then attempt to rape her. But I couldn't get it in the fat one because she was genetically deformed from birth, and she was not ever able to have children. And she was Kevin's godmother because she was never married, never had children. And when he raped and murdered, he beat Aunt Ruby to death almost before he raped her. And then he stabbed her with a crucifix off the wall. That's enough for me. Looks to me like this is a case that the death penalty was designed for, but Supreme Court different, from my opinion. So now, Miller Montgomery comes along and a different opinion from mine. So the law of the land is the law of the land. But the law of the state of Louisiana gives the Pardon and Parole Board the ability to render justice. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here asking y'all to deliver justice. Thank you so much for listening to us. I appreciate you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. This case has been assigned to Ms. Renatza to be the lead on, so we will let her ask any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Como.
How you doing?
All
Good
right.
morning.
Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. So we've heard all this testimony this morning, Mr. Como, and I agree that I've read through the record that was provided to us. It's almost 300 pages, and it's quite disturbing. But I'd like to talk to you some about what you've been doing since you've been in prison. How old are you, sir?
I'm 56 years old.
And so how many years have you served in jail?
I can't hear what you say.
How long you been in jail? How many years?
39 years.
39 years. And so, Mr. Como, tell us, what is your job? What do you do?
Sew. I'm a sewer. I sew shoulder.
You work in a garment factory?
Yeah, in the garment factory.
So what kind of programs have you taken, rehabilitative programs?
I took a lot of them. Thanking for a change. Thanking for a change and
Let me help you out. Let me help you out. I see
Oh.
that you did the 100-hour pre-release.
Right.
Did Living in Balance, which is
Right.
substance abuse. You've done an anger management program.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you mentioned Thinking for Change.
Yes, ma'am.
And what I noticed that was missing from all of that, you've not had any sex offender treatment.
No.
You've not done any victim awareness training.
Yeah, I'm in that now.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. What is your, Warden Ambo explained to us about your education. So if you were able to speak to the victim's family and you heard them speak today, what is it that you would say to them?
If I have opportunity to speak to the victim family, but I can't take back what I done to the, I can't replace what I done to the victim family. And by that, like I said, I'm taking full responsibility for what I did for the victim family. and I got remorse and hoping they forgive me for what I did.
Let me just say for the record that we did, Warden Ambo did mention he has a low tiger, which is a risk assessment tool, low tiger score. We also had prepared Static 99, which is a risk assessment tool specifically for male sex offenders. And Mr. Como scored above average risk to reoffend in the moderate to high risk scale. So I don't have any other questions of Mr. Como. I think he's doing well where he is in a controlled environment. And I think he got a good break back when that he's no longer sentenced to death and that he does have parole eligibility. That's all I have.
Stapleton, you have any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to add for Kevin, his first letter that I read, and we all read. He said he didn't want to have to leave anything out. And the one thing he apparently had to leave out was the morning that they were all told. And for me, that was poignant and what a victim goes through when they find out it's the worst day of their life. And this is what happened. Prior to September the 1st, 1985, I lived a very normal life, full of fun and laughter and not many worries in the world, as most 25-year-olds should do. But every day since that day, it has been anything but normal for me. I was visiting my grandparents in Simsport, Louisiana, from New Orleans with my father. Around noon that Sunday, my grandparents' phone rang. My father answered it, and to this day, I can still remember the silence and the blank stare that my father was giving me while he was talking on the phone. My grandma and grandpa were also looking at their son, wondering what was on the other end of the line. My father hung up and looked at his father and said, "Daddy, Ida and Ruby were murdered last night." His two little sisters were gone. And to this day, I can remember my grandfather, who I believe was the strongest, hardest working man and farmer I had ever laid my eyes on, crying and tracing. And all I could do was hug the man that hugged me all my life when I got hurt or got scolded for doing something stupid, some things that kids do. Soon after that, my cousin and I had to drive to the farm where her father, my Uncle Lamar, was harvesting soybeans. And as he saw his daughter Janet and I approach the combine, he immediately knew something was very wrong. When we informed him that his two sisters were murdered, that tough, hard man fell to his knees and sobbed in his daughter's arms uncontrollably. His two sisters were gone. I was a young 25-year-old man then, and now I stand before you, an old man of 64, and I have been reliving that horrific event from that day forward until today, and I'm sure that I will until I'm gone. So, I think it's important for you to hear that. I don't have any questions. I think everything's been covered.
I have one question for you, Mr. Como. Looking at your programs and things you completed, one thing is in there is a 12-week preparatory program for pardon and parole hearing. And I haven't seen that before. And I was just wondering, what was that program like and what did you get out of it?
What you mean?
In your file, it says that you completed a 12-week preparatory program for pardon and parole hearings, like preparing you for this hearing.
Yeah.
And I would like to know what you got out of that and what was it about? What was the topic?
Yeah, it teach you about how you prepare yourself for the parole and stuff like that, and get your thought ready before you speak for the parole board. You understand?
Yes, sir. All right. That's all the questions I had. I guess the board is now ready to vote. Ms. Renata, you're the lead. You will vote first.
I will, thank you. Mr. Como, I've already told you my concerns.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really glad that you're doing well where you are. You're a Class A trustee. You seem to be doing well on your job. You got a good conduct record, but I think, as has been said already today, you're still a young man. And I'm concerned, I'm just not ready to give you a shot today. My vote today is going to be to deny your parole based on the very strong opposition and the above average risk to reoffend.
Ms. Stapleton?
Mine is the same as Mrs. Renata. The static 99, which is above average to reoffend. Your threat to public safety and strong law enforcement and victim opposition.
Mr. Como, I'm going to concur with both of my colleagues and vote the same way for the same reasons. So today, your parole has been denied.
Okay.
And this concludes our business in your case today. Thank you.
All right.